Hi, this is Darren, back for another Wise Wednesday. So this is the final of 4 in talking about different training types for different outcomes. So the first one we talked about athletic performance. Give you a quick recap on those. Athletic performance, think about your sport. What athletic performance are you trying to achieve? And then match up those sporting movements, if you like, your athletic movements with the type of training you're doing, with the movements you're doing. Do you need power? Do you need agility? Do you need speed, etc.? It's really about matching those things up. Then we talked about hypertrophy, muscle building, which is all about time under tension, a lot of food, a lot of protein, using 8 to 12 reps mostly, etc. Fat loss, last week we talked about fat loss, which is a little bit of a mixture, but remember, fat loss, all about the kitchen. Abs are made in the kitchen, rev up the metabolism, a little bit of a mixture between resistance training and cardio, short burst and duration cardio. So that's a recap of what we did last time. Last one we're going to talk about this week is strength training. Probably one of the hardest types of training, but actually quite easy in terms of its formatting. So what we're looking to do with strength training, obviously lift as heavy as we can. Now to that end, we want to be also lifting big compound movements. Again, we want to be doing things like big squats, we want to be doing deadlift, pull-ups, big bent rows, shoulder presses, bench press, that type of thing. We don't want to be worrying with things like bicep curls and tricep extensions and all that sort of stuff. You know, cables, probably not really. Big movements, big bars, big heavy lifts. Now, our parameters for strength training, we're looking at doing anywhere between 1 and 6 repetitions generally. Again, as always, there's, we can change this about, there'll be people that say, well, I do this many reps and I get great results. But generally, we're looking at between 1 and 6 repetitions, and you want anywhere between about 5 to 8 sets on each exercise, and we're trying to lift pretty much as heavy as we can. The key to strength training is high intensity, and by intensity I mean as close to your 1 rep max as possible. We don't want to really be going over 6 repetitions. So what are the other keys? Rest times. Because of the energy system that we're using with strength training, which is maximal kind of energy output, we want to be using our creatine system, and that means we need to be having about 3 minutes rest in between our sets. Good idea, Paul Check, one of the guys that taught me, always used to take a book to his strength training and used to just read in between sets. It's quite boring, most part, strength training. Do a set, do 4 or 5 repetitions, sit down for 3 minutes, do 4 or 5 repetitions, sit down for 3 minutes, do that 6 times, move on to the next exercise. So it can get a little bit boring. You need those long rest times in between in order to get those energy system back in, get that creatine back in so that you can lift big again. That's the key. Lift as heavy as you can. Also, lifting in really good form. You've got to have good form. Don't sacrifice form for weight. If you become a professional power lifter, then we can tweak that a little bit. You know, those guys will sometimes sacrifice form for weight, but probably most of you watching this aren't professional power lifters. So make sure your squat form is spot on. Make sure your deadlift form is spot on. If you're not sure, ask a coach, get somebody to spot you. General rule for strength training, if you can't lift it, don't lift it, okay? Make sure your form is good. The second thing in strength training is because it's very neurologically challenging, we're lifting very close to our 1 rep max, so there's a lot of stress on the nervous system. You are much more likely to get injured lifting very close to your 1 rep max than you are in any other type of training, possibly apart from speed training. So one key to it is make sure you have adequate rest time after your training sessions. Okay, you've got to let the nervous system recover. Now also in terms of how long you would do a strength training program for, whereas with fat loss or athletic performance or muscle building, you could probably do 4 to 6 weeks depending on how seasoned you are, whether you've sort of just started training or not. With strength training, you really need about 3 weeks on, take a week off, 3 weeks on, take a week off. So that's pretty much it. Strength training, eat well, of course, you've got to rebuild your muscles. You want between 1 and 6 repetitions. You want about 5 to 8 sets on each exercise. Only pick maybe 2 or 3 exercises per workout. 3 weeks on a workout, take a week off, 3 weeks on, take a week off. Okay, give that a try, and that's it from this series. If you've got any questions, post them on Facebook, and we'd be happy to answer them. If you've got any questions in the gym, just ask a coach. Next month we'll be on to something else, or next time we'll be on to something else. Hope this has been helpful. See you next time.